All right, guys, cheers to you. Welcome to another Doodles podcast. In this video, I'm going to be talking about like the end of the vlog. Not my vlog, but the vlog in general. It's been on a downward trend for the past couple years here. I kind of want to give you my thoughts on what and what's causing it, and is there anything we can do and all that. So I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along here. But first off, I'm going to, people often ask, sorry if it's like a little bit rocky here because the boat's a bit rocky. I can either do this camera or I could do this camera, but this one's a little blown out. I don't know. That might be a little bit less seasick. No, I think it's probably going to be worse for you, but it is what it is. The wind's out of an inconvenient situation thing. So if you're just listening to this, it's a little rocky. I hope you don't get seasick if you're watching. If you're listening to it and you get seasick, well, you got problems. So hopefully that's not the case. But anyway, so sailing doodles. A lot of people have asked, how did the name Doodles come about? Maybe if they haven't been watching, if they only started watching in the last couple of years. So when I started the channel, I had two Labradoodles named Maverick and Goose, and they sailed with me for the first 5 years or so. Oh no, Maverick passed away at 3.5 years, and then Goose was, and then yeah. So anyway, Maverick passed away in, I believe it was spring of just before COVID, like a couple months before COVID and of 20, and then Goose passed away about 1.5 years later. So the two Labradoodles, hence Sailing Doodles, and then I also have several other channels now. The second most popular one would be Flying Doodles, and I just went with Flying Doodles because keeping the name brand recognition. With Flying Doodles, and then I have Glamping Doodles about the RV life, and then the Doodles podcast. So kind of the whole Doodles network, it works out. But so that's how that came around. I want to talk about the end of the vlog on YouTube. So let me first get into. You can kind of see here. I need to bring something. I should have had this up already. My mistake. Sorry, I meant to have it up. There's a good website called socialblade.com, and so if you're ever interested in kind of seeing statistics on YouTube, you can go there. Let's see here if it's coming up. Yeah, okay, here we go. So basically, this website kind of, you can enter, like I'll go to Sailing Doodles first. So I go to Sailing Doodles, hit enter, and it gives you the stats for the last year. It says, we've got 637,000 subscribers, almost 400 million views, and so it gives a ranking and all that. We're 336th in travel in our country, actually number 1385, which is, I didn't know we were that interesting that we're that high ranked. Anyway, kind of gives you stats on it, and then you can get the monthly stats if you want. But then here's the big one down here is the the past year stats. You can kind of see it's just been a general, it's been pretty flat, honestly. Pretty flat, if anything down. And then you see this huge spike. That was when we had a couple shorts go viral and then kind of dwindling off from there. So, we've been pretty flat. If anything, we were higher towards the beginning of, this goes the last couple of years, 3 years. So, 3 years ago, we were doing really well, getting 10 million views a month. I mean, that was great. 10 million views a month. Wow. I would love to have that right now. Right now we're doing 3.2 million views per month. And so we're down, what, 70%? I'm not doing math right, but I know it's something like that. And, it's just Sailing Doodles. So if I type in, let's go to the big boys, let's go to La Vagabond. So if I search in La Vagabond here, they've got just over 400 million subscribers. So we're catching them, actually. They've got 3.3 million views in the last month, and that's up 30%. So we were catching them there. So like we're getting the same amount of views per month as Sailing La Vagabond. But if you look at their trends as well, they are down from 3 years ago and been relatively flat. They've had some ups and downs. They've got some better PR publicists than I do. I've been working on that, but I haven't found anybody that's anyway. So they had a couple big spikes where they did something. I think they run CNN once, and then a few other things. They got them some good things, notoriety there. So they've got 1.9 million subscribers, and they're only doing the same amount of views as we are. So if we look at the next one down, would be SB Delos. they are, yeah, they're doing 1 million views a month. That's down from 3 years ago. They were doing 4 million views a month. And then, you know, they're just down, down, down. Now they're only doing 1 million views a month. They've been really flat. And then I will go down to Gone with the Winds, I believe. There we go. They are relatively the same. They're getting less than 1 million views a month. They've been pretty flat as well. They're down from, you know, 4 or 5 million views a month 3 years ago to less than 1 million now. And then who would be next? Like Zatara, I think, is next. You know, they're pretty much the same. You can, yeah, well, they've had some, I think they've been doing shorts as well. So those are probably big spikes from shorts. But I'll get into that in a minute, like why I think that's not really important. But, you know, they were doing, you know, 3 years ago, 2 or 3 million views a month, and now they're doing 2 million views a month, less than 2, or 1.2 million views in the last month. And then who else we got? Let's go to Parlay. That'd be probably the next one down. They're a little different. Well, now they're doing same thing. They had big, you know, they were doing 2 or 3 million views a month a few years ago. Now they're down to less than 1 million views a month. So you can see that the trend is not great for sailing vlogs. It's just not I think a lot of it has to do 3 years ago. You know, it was 2020. Everybody was locked down in COVID and nobody had anything better to do. So everybody was watching YouTube videos. But I think the vlog, not just sailing vlogs, I think vlogs in general are kind of on their way down for a couple different reasons. You know, one might be shorts. So we'll get into shorts. So, you know, here's a thumbnail from, oh, well, I didn't do my screen properly, but oh well. Yeah, anyway, whatever. I didn't redo my screen, but this is Think Media. And they, you know, they're cautioning about shorts because they can, you know, ruin not ruin your YouTube, but they can give you either a false sense of like you're doing well, or they can, in fact, maybe if you do well in shorts, is not necessarily good for your channel. So like my most popular short has somewhere around 30 million views, whereas like I think my most popular long form video has something like 20 million. But if you look at the earnings, so 30 million views is what that short has. It's earned $2,000. $2,000 for 30 million views. So even if you get a viral short, it's not worth any money. You know, your average short that gets 100, 200,000 views, that's worth like 20, 30 bucks. Like literally, that's all it's worth. It's worth a penny per 1,000 views or whatever it is, whatever that translates to. It's about, so if you have 100,000 views, I believe is my math right on that? Is it worth hang on, I gotta look this up. Let me just look at a short I've got. And let's see here, content shorts. My last short that has 36,000 views has earned $4.18. So it's going up. Wow, look at that. It's more than a penny per 1,000 views. Hey, anyway. But the problem is that, so that generates you can get a lot of views. Plus then it doesn't work the same way. So long form content, basically you earn all your income and get most of your views in the first 2 or 3 days. That's not necessarily true. If you're just doing an average video for your channel, like an average video for my channel gets, you know, a good average video around 200,000 views. You know, a video that does well is around 400,000. Anything above that can go significantly higher and be up in the millions. It doesn't have, you know, maybe, you know, we're probably 5 videos a month get 200,000, 3 or 4 get 150, and then there might be 1 or 2 that get 400, 500,000. And then every 3 or 4 months we get a video that gets 2 or 3 million. But the long form content can be worth some decent money, but you still get most of that income for the first 2 days. Man, this anchorage is turning bad. Sorry, it's so. Let me change. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, let me go to this camera. I don't think that's the worst. But anyway, sorry if you're getting seasick. Look the other way. But but so if you're spending more time working on your shorts, you're not putting as much time in on your long form content. Yeah, it may feel nice that you're getting a lot of views and a lot of new subscribers. Like, like if you look at, we'll go back to my channel there on this on on Social Blade, you can see when my short went viral. It was February or March of last year, where we got 40,000 new subscribers in 1 month. Now, that does not translate to new long form content views. It just doesn't. At least not at that time, because YouTube has separated shorts and long form. Like just because you watch my shorts, it doesn't promote my long form content, and it's a different audience, And that's the thing too, is it doesn't recommend it as much, right? It still will say, okay, if you're scrolling through your long form, it might show it some, but that's really not good for your channel in the long run, because what happens is you get the people that watch the shorts is a different audience, generally younger, whereas the demographics for the sailing channels is mostly 40 plus, like 75–80% of 40-year-old plus. And so let me get back on this here. So if it's showing you a lot of new people are being, seeing a long form stuff of yours and skipping it, then that's bad overall. It says, okay, well, this video isn't as popular, so we're not going to show it as much. At least that's my theory on it. And then and then what I don't like too is, like, I'll be scrolling through if I watch most of my YouTube on my TV, and I don't get short form suggestions on that, which is great. I don't want it. When I'm on my phone, it seems like every third video they're trying to show me is a short. I don't want to see that. I can't even turn it off in the app. I wish I could, because then you get there and you get caught doom scrolling, where you click on a short and the next thing you know, you look up 20 minutes later, all you're doing is looking at 30-second clips, and it's just annoying. But they're trying to compete. YouTube is trying to compete with with TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, and so they're getting into the shorts. Whereas I don't know if they should have done that. I think because they're not. If I'm not earning any money on shorts, they're certainly not earning any money on shorts, because the creator gets. The creator doesn't even get 50% on shorts. I think it's like 45. You think YouTube takes 45, the creator gets 45, and then they got to do 10% to the music, which it sucks. Like I prefer not to even use licensed music on shorts, but I still, I got to pay for it anyway, so I might as well. So if they're not making much money on shorts, then I'm not making money on shorts. And then a problem also, which we'll get into, another reason why I think the sailing blogs are in trouble, or just any blog is in trouble, is for AI. But because AI now, with the tools that you're doing, I'll just get into it now, I guess, a little bit, is that so with AI, I've tried it on a few things. There's websites you can go to. I think one of them is called Aura or Pura. I can't remember the name of it. But you put in your video, and it'll automatically cut 20 shorts out of that video, which are like reels, right, or the TikToks, and it'll put captions on it and all that. Most of them are garbage, because it's just AI doesn't really know what it's doing. But a few of them are good. I've used a couple of them. I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I'll use that short. Well, people are using AI for generating, they're generating, somebody that does shorts as their full-time job might generate 20, 30, 50, 100 shorts in a day. Most of them will be garbage, but one or two might get a couple million views. You know what I mean? And so it's just flooding the market with AI generated content. I think YouTube is planning to start putting a disclaimer that you have to check the box that it was AI generated, but that's depending on you to be honest that it was AI generated, or whoever's owning the channel. So AI. Now, another thing about AI, which people are worried about in the future, is like just original content by AI, which it can do right now, but I think the main, so like not anytime soon, but I think in the next 10 years probably. I think the main limiting power and why it's 10 years is a hardware issue. Like, they're not going to have the computing power to do all this for your average creator. Maybe the movie studios and stuff like that can do it, but your average creator can't. So in 10 years, you're just gonna, like, you might watch a sailing vlog and everything on it is computer generated, and you may not be able to tell the difference. And in fact, it might be better than what you're getting now because there's no limitations on what's real life, right? It can be like, oh my gosh, we were sailing, we got hit by a squall, it broke our mast or whatever, and you know, you that didn't actually happen because the AI created it all, but it's entertaining to watch and all that, and you may not know the difference. But like I said, I think that that's not anytime soon, because the computing power to do that is, you need very powerful computers to do a long time to do it, and it's just not monetarily, you know, if that, say that video did go viral or something and earned $20,000-$30,000, that's nothing compared to what movie studios are doing to use AI generated stuff, and then that movie might make 20-30 million dollars. So it's just the money's not there yet, and the hardware's not there yet. So that's why I'm not too concerned about AI generating original content, but I am concerned about AI cutting up existing content. And this is another problem I wanted to get into. It's a great video by Kyle Hill. I forgot to adjust the thing again, but Kyle Hill is a YouTuber I follow. He is a learning and kind of educational creator, and he's done a couple of videos on this series now about content thieves. So what people are doing with what they're doing with his content is they're basically stealing his content. They're having AI chop it up and using AI voices and AI voiceover. Oh man, the guys, the people around here do not care. Like the locals coming by in their speedboats will just zoom right by and leave you a nice wake. That was nothing compared to what you get sometimes. And so there's all these content factories and whatever in like places like Russia and Pakistan and India and Albania, where they're not regulated or enforced copyright stuff. So what they're doing, it's not so much with the sailing vlogs. That'd be a lot harder to do because there's somebody on screen talking, like I'm doing right now, whereas his stuff is a lot of showing science stuff and him voicing over on it. So what they've got, these AI programs that'll take his stuff, cut it all up, and then it generates a script for it, and then it does AI voices overhaul in it, or a voiceover, and then they'll put out like 20 or 30 different versions of that video. And they didn't film any of it, they didn't write a script, they didn't put any work in like Kyle did. And so they're stealing his content, and then they get away with it most of the time, because if they chop it up just right, maybe the YouTube censors don't even know it's done. You can file like I'll do it occasionally. Somebody just blatantly copies my stuff and puts it on their YouTube channel. And when I notice it, there's a setting I can go to in my Creator Studio where it says copyright, and then it can show me anybody and it says how much of their video. Like there's a few people that have done these like the secret lives of Sailing Doodles videos, or how much does he earn type videos, that are using my stuff. I mean, I guess they're technically being able to use it like as fair use, because they're not passing it off as their own content, and they're actually doing their own voiceover, and they're just using it as like kind of giving information. I'm a little bit dubious on that. It's not really worth it for me to copyright that, because if anything, it gives me more attention. It gives me more publicity, because at least they're going Secret Lives of Sailing Doodles, right? They're giving me credit and they're showing this is that creator. Whereas the people that are content thieves are just stealing their stuff and passing it off as their own. So they're not giving Kyle Hill any credit. So in the YouTube Studio, it gives you a list of the videos that are using some of your content. Like it'll say, okay, this video, 10% of their content is from your channel, or 20% and all that. But people also take advantage of the fair use stuff. There was a guy doing a video on this last Burning Man, and I did a video about it, and he straight up just took a minute of my footage, a full minute, and put it on his video. Did not give me credit for it or anything. Didn't say this is Sailing Doodles, just played it in his video. Didn't like voice over on it and say, see, check this stuff out. He just played my video for a minute straight. And, I filed a copyright claim on him, because I'm like, okay, number one, you didn't give me credit. Number two, you're passing it off as your own stuff, and yet he's trying to say, no, it's fair use, I can use it. I'm like, no, that is not fair use. But anyway, so you have all these content thieves, you have all the AI that's coming, and the way social media or content is gone is all like, I don't know, people don't have as much time. I mean, it's kind of nice that we, like, our demographic is older, like it's 40 plus, because, I guess people that are a little older are used to watching a 10, 15, 20-minute program or more like they would on regular TV, and sitting down and watching it. Whereas the younger generations that aren't watching, number one, they're probably just not as interested in sailing. And number two, their attention span is nothing. Like I was watching a video the other day, it was breaking down, is that thing, that's not called, yeah. It was breaking down content, like viral content that goes viral, and it was talking about Mr. Beast. And if you don't know who Mr. Beast is, he's one of the biggest, he is the biggest YouTuber. He's got hundreds of millions of subscribers. Each of his videos gets hundreds of millions of views. And they're breaking down his video. In the first 30 seconds, they have an average of 17 cuts. So there's 17 different scenes in the first 30 seconds. And throughout the whole video, I don't think one scene lasts more than, see, here comes a nice big wake that, I don't know, this guy, it's a little dinghy. That's not that guy, that's a dinghy. There was a speedboat that went by and gave me a big wake. And the longest stretch in his entire video without a cut was something like 7 or 8, maybe it was 10 seconds. And so, sailing type content is not that. It tends to be longer stuff showing what's going on and all that. In the last video I did, it might be out by the time, it's the one with the wing foiling or the e-foiling. So I don't know if it'll be out when this video comes out, but that's what I basically emulated. That for the first 5 minutes of the video, there's probably not a section that goes more than 7 or 8 seconds without a cut. And then the first 30 seconds, there probably are 17 cuts just to keep people glued in, because I think that's probably the two most important metrics that YouTube looks for, as far as my understanding, is click-through ratio. So how many people see your thumbnail and click on the video, right? So if you get a click-through ratio of like, if you're getting 25%, that's pretty good. That means every fourth time your thumbnail is shown, somebody's clicking on it and watching your video. That's pretty good, honestly, 25%. The next metric is audience retention. How long do they watch your video? What percentage of the video do they watch it? Do they, if you're down around 30% or something like that, that's pretty bad. You want to be up closer to 70%. But I have noticed, like, the videos of mine that don't do well, like don't get a lot of views, it does have good audience retention, because those are your more loyal viewers, the ones that will watch no matter what. But new viewers aren't watching it. They're not clicking through, so they don't even get to the audience retention part. So if I have a video that has a 70%, then I'll look at the click-through ratio. If the click-through ratio is really low, then I know that video is not going to do well. Whereas if I have a high click-through ratio and high audience retention, I know that video is going to do really well. The downside is that when that video starts to do really well, like say it does get 10 million views, well, then that audience retention drops down back probably to 30–40%, because, okay, now you're getting shown to 10 million people have clicked on your video and start watching it. And of course, most of the people aren't going to be interested and just click right out of it, right? So, or, it'll start auto-playing from the last video. So, it seems like I wrote a couple things down here. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, I've kind of hit all the points I wanted to talk about there. So as far as like what the future is for vlogs, I don't know. I think they have about 10 years left, maybe. And it'll probably be ever dwindling slice. It's not going to be until about 2.5, 3 years ago. It was always an upward trajectory. Every month, not always, but I mean, overall, it was an upward trajectory. for most of the vloggers. And in about 2.5, 3 years ago, that changed, and especially on sailing stuff. I mean, like the days of your just general vlogger, like your Casey Neistat or something like that, they're over. I mean, like Casey, if he put out a video, I'm sure you get a lot of views, but somebody starting a new vlog in the style of Casey Neistat, it's just not going to work. You need to be very niche in your stuff. So sailing is one of those niches. Cars, or SpaceX, or whatever, Tesla, whatever your niche is that your videos are mostly about. But the problem is that in order to be successful enough to have a channel that you can call a career, you have to be pretty niche, which means you're not going to get to the levels of Casey Neistat or Mr. Beast or something like that. Those guys that started before, 10, 15 years ago. It's just, I think it's kind of scary what's going to happen. I mean, like, I guess everybody's worried about AI to some extent. It's going to take jobs and all that, but it'll create new ones. So, like, I can't complain. There'll be something else. But, so I just wanted to give you my thoughts on this situation when it comes to vlogs and YouTube. The future doesn't look too great. Maybe we'll see we'll see a resurgence. I don't know. I personally, I think you have to adapt. Like, okay, I have to change so I'll see how this next video does. The one that I did make a lot of cuts, and it's very, trying to keep attention as long as I can in the video. We'll see how successful that video is, and if it is successful, then that tells me I've got to adapt my content and be more boom, boom, boom. Everything's got to keep going, 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 and it's got to be a scene change every 5-7 seconds. So it's a big experiment. So is life. It is what it is. But thank you guys for tuning in to the Doodles podcast. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Leave a comment down below, please. And if you're listening to this, whatever audio podcast you get, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review on that platform. I'm trying to get some more traction on the, because I think the audio podcasts are only getting a couple thousand listens per episode. Whereas on YouTube, they're doing anywhere from 30 to a couple 100,000 views. But I'm trying to build it better on the audio stuff. And that is, kind of, I think, that is a form of content that is growing, is the podcast, because people can listen to it in their cars and stuff. So I think that's a good medium to kind of lean into, which is why I've kind of been doing more podcast stuff lately like this. I think that's a good, a good compromise. But all right, thanks guys. And so the next video that I do of these will be an Ask Me Anything. So I will make a post on Patreon. So patreon.com/sailingdoodles. And I'm going to put a post up, ask me anything. And so we normally get around 30 to 40 questions from our patrons. And I don't look at the questions beforehand. I just answer them as, I pull the page up and I start reading them and answer the questions. So if you want your question answered, become a patron. You get to do that in the next video, or a channel member. Do a channel member of Sailing Doodles, not the podcast, because, yeah, separate stuff. But, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next video.